and buying gently used houses from other people, I have no idea. I haven't even begun to look into that, but I'm glad you brought up the housing sector, which is one very important one that I have neglected in our discussions heretofore. Thank you, Alan.
Hey, Gary,
yes, Scott.
Can I just add one thing too? Alan, brought up this speculative assertion of the administration that this will make us rich. Tariffs, we were so rich with tariffs, and I take the slightly spurious tone voice I share. But keep in mind this: the money that we get from tariffs will be paid for by American consumers. So, can you imagine if Donald Trump came out and said, "We're going to raise taxes on middle-class people. It's going to bring in money for the coffers and really help with the federal income." Nobody, my conservative friends would not be cheering if Trump said that, if some liberal Democrat said that, right? What we're talking about is it's not like China or Mexico is paying this into the coffers. It's American consumers paying into the coffers, right? So, yeah, it might give us some deficit reduction. It's possible. I don't think it's going to be that significant, but whatever end that is, it will be out of the American taxpayers' pocket in what it by any other name is a tax.
I love this point that Scott's making, and Gary, I am not a math expert. In fact, I would say math is one of my weaker skills. However, if you think about the federal deficit again, and you think about the idea that if we increase American employment, we will increase income to the Treasury because of taxes. Think about this. Only about 20% or less, maybe 12 to 18% of the workers' income is going to go into a federal coffer. So if let's suppose we increase by $100, we get $100 that we didn't have before. If we're lucky, 12 to 18% of that will go into the federal deficit reduction, but America has paid 100% tax on that. If you see, I'm not very good at articulating this point, but I think a statistician could make the point much more articulately. It's easy to say that tariffs are regressive. Anybody who doesn't understand that just doesn't understand basic economics. But the point I'm trying to make is that even the income that comes as a result of higher production is a much smaller piece of the pie than people want to recognize that it is.
Thank you, Alan. We'll go to Les.
Trump's value proposition when he was running was that there would be lower inflation and lower taxes. But a tariff is basically means more inflation, higher prices, and it's a higher tax because it's increasing the taxes on everything you buy. And the other economic thing that's happening right now is HHS is killing medical progress, and they're the ones that do the basic research that no private firm is going to fund, and so there's no seed corn to build those drugs and treatments that originate here. No Buck Rogers. I really appreciate what Scott and Alan said. They said basically everything I was going to say, but perhaps slightly better. And I also, Larry Summers is a very smart guy, and I appreciate folks quoting him. Thank you.
Thank you, Les. Dr. Victoria, we've invited you numerous times up to the stage. You have not been making the trip. Don't know why, but I don't want you to think that you're being ignored. Denise.
Hi there. I was actually moving around and raised my hand accidentally, but I do have some things to say, so I will make a few points. And,
it was fate. It was fortuitous that you inadvertently raised your hand.
Yeah, and I know we always need more female representation here. So But I was in banking. I've said that before until the recession of 2008, and so since January, I've had concerns about recession and worse, stagflation, and costs going up with the tariffs, as we've been talking about here, and then people spending less. I mean, you're going to have to buy food, but there's other things you don't have to buy, and from my perspective, these tariffs have been so haphazard. They're not strategic, and even if they're a negotiating tool, after all, the instability is, going to cause people to, retract their businesses and all of that. So even that's defeating the purpose. But the tariffs haven't really gone into effect for the most part. And also people, I feel like, even based on my personal experience, are probably doing a little stockpile spending right now. Like I'm buying up my Colombian coffee. Every time I go in the store, I'm buying 4 bags of it. And
by the way, you're not going to move, I don't think, the manufacturing of coffee from Colombia to the United States. I don't think that's going to happen.
That is correct. And my olive oil and, all of those things that I like. So I'm stockpiling up on some of those that, I can't do without. But like you, I'm seeing concerns from small business owners, which is unfortunate because America prides itself on being conducive to small business. Like that's the American way, to be able to start your own business and work hard. And it's hurting the small businesses when you hear them talking about concerns about their inventory. And just a couple small things. I have a side hustle on Etsy, and I'm doing vintage things. It's not really going to affect me, but I'm seeing on message boards people who make handmade, they're makers and they make these things. And for some people, that's their actual income. And then for others, it supplements their income. But a lot of them, it's their full-time thing. And they are so concerned because they make the products often in America, but they're getting their supplies from China. And, their examples were, if you're ordering $100, of belt and buttons or whatever, now it's going to be $225 instead of $100 for each shipment that comes in. And that's really going to hurt these really small businesses. And then another really interesting thing that, just one little small thing, I was at an event a couple of days ago with like interior designers and a pretty affluent crowd. And this one girl made a point, and really everybody was kind of in agreement that, a lot of times people do spring cleaning, women this time of the year, and they donate clothes and things. And the advice right now is to hold on to your clothes because you don't know, if we're going to be buying clothes when they double in price. We're going to be holding on to what we have. And so, that's going to affect retailers like Macy's and Kohl's and, Saks Fifth Avenue. It's going to affect everyone. So anyway, there's just going to be a lot of ripple effects. And I'm concerned about the small businesses.
For sure, the fashion industry. We know that the schmatas, as we kind of call it, those of us who know a couple of words in Yiddish, come from other countries. And it's a really good point that maybe if it's gently used but no longer fashionable, they always say that it becomes fashionable again if you hold on to it long enough. I saw people wearing bell bottoms not too long ago. So.
Well, and there's some seamstresses that will, that still sew a little bit, but nobody wants to be paid $12 an hour or less to sit in a factory and sew all day. That's not. I mean, the money that's being spent in the administration right now, if they had applied the thought leading and all of that into ways to put forth jobs that pay well for people and to advance, high-paying jobs for Americans, would have been a much better course, in my opinion.
Thank you, Denise, and we're glad to have as our DEI officer, Scott, always says, women on the stage. I hope we don't lose our federal funding for saying so. Uncle, you're up. Your microphone's open. We do not hear you, Uncle. And we're hearing some clicks, but no vocal cord transmissions. There you are.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Just a few points that I quickly want to touch on. Now, will the tariffs help bring back jobs? On the average, I think most people have already, we've agreed mostly that it's not really going to help that much. Now, if I was listening to NPR the other day, I know that like one or two industries might be happy about it because it's gonna help them. There was this guy who was doing lobster fishing and fishing, generally fishing. He was happy about the tariffs because he said he's been struggling to compete with the imported ones from India, China, and the rest of them. So people like him, of course, want the tariffs, but on the average, I don't think it's going to help really much. Now, let's look at the best case scenario. Let's say everything really works the way our president has told us it's going to work. So we bring back the jobs. First of all, it's not going to be in a short time.
This is the last we are going to see of this thing. I am excited to go outside. I'm excited to put out
Something.
The important thing to notice is that what makes a certain genius now incompatible with his surroundings is usually the fact that some previous genius of a different strain has warped the community away from the sphere of his possible effectiveness. After Voltaire, no Peter the Hermit. After Charles IX and Louis XIV, no general Protestantization of France. After the Manchester School, Beaconsfield success is transient. After Lady Philip II, a Castellar makes a little headway, and so on. Each bifurcation cuts off certain sides of the field altogether, and limits the future possible angles of deflection. A community is a living thing, and in words which I can do no better than quote from Professor Clifford, it is the peculiarity of living things not merely that they change under the influence of surrounding circumstances, but that any change which takes place in them is not lost but retained, and as it were built into the organism to serve as a foundation for future action.
I'm willing to bet that when I'm only one in the queue away, but I guarantee you I'll be last or second to last. Gary always just skips right over me in the queue. He says it's the queue according to that he sees it. It's like, so I have all these other accounts. Let me see where it puts me in the queue. I have three other Clown House accounts already in the room that I left the room. But let me do a quick pop in. See where I am in the queue.
So all of us, just like a word of caution. Now, every regime
Oops.
every administration since Bush Jr.
Where are
always
you,
had to
Gary?
deal with something they did not plan for. With Bush Jr., it was 9/11. With Obama, we'll say it was.
If you cause any distortion in the growth of a tree, make it. The important thing to notice is that what makes a certain genius now incompatible with his surroundings is usually the fact that some previous genius of a different strain has warped the community away from the sphere of its possible effectiveness. After Voltaire, no Peter the Hermit. After Charles IX and Louis XIV, no general Protestantization of France. After the Manchester School, Beaconsfield success is transient. After Lady Philip II, a Castellar makes a little headway, and so on. Each bifurcation cuts off certain sides of the field altogether, and limits the future possible angles of deflection. The community is a living thing, and in words which I can do no better than quote from Professor Clifford,
natural
it
selection.
is the peculiarity of living things
He
not
likes to just talk, like he likes to talk about like Darwinism, these like tropes you hear in like creationist videos and shit, which is an obvious tell that the man hasn't actually studied the subject at all, which makes him, I think, a liar, or intentionally.
Yeah, like I mean, he definitely hasn't taught it at some like legit institution, but like maybe he taught it at some like non-legit place. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, he was like describing how he taught at like university, and it felt a lot more like a conference where he was like a self-help guru
I
or
didn't think
something.
that's where you were going with it. I thought the point you were going to make was that in those cases, his predecessors, and himself as a predecessor.
Yeah, I go with that. I mean, if you
COVID,
want to be amused, it's fun to argue with him.
that he dealt with.
You want to have like an edifying discussion about the subject. The subject matter is obviously not going to happen there.
Scott, this is the most boring room in the world.
Charming enough.
It is so boring.
Yeah.
And Gary's gonna skip over me.
Nice guy.
if you're polite,
noise that sounds like conversation going somewhat rhythmically in the background that you don't really have to pay attention to.
I'm not even going to say
It's a nice experience.
Well, he talks for a very long amount of time, and he doesn't concede points. And those two are pretty on.
Like the tariffs and
It's just this endless fucking
can or he should, even if he could.
rambling.
He can.
There's no inference being drawn.
Yeah, I'm not sure you know.
There's no conclusion.
But I will say that.
Or it's all conclusion and no premises.
Folks.
It's like just assertion after assertion.
Which is just endless deflection. And the thing is, he does it within his own head. Like, he gets distracted by his deflection and just wanders down a rabbit trail.
Powell, his speech before the.
I find that if I want to talk to a Muslim who's arguing in good faith with me and wants to and will concede points, then the points I'll bring up is like I have this argument that like I didn't Muhammad.
They're saying, we had inflation under the Biden administration, and he never spoke out about that. And people listen to such commentary and they go, oh, look at this. It's another attack on the president. It's not being a fair arbiter of the economy, which the Fed chairman is supposed to be. So when I started hearing this commentary, I decided to do my research that some people have pointed out that they appreciate. And some people have said you're only fact-checking one side and not the other, which is not true.
The
but
challenging
that's fine.
situations that will
criticized
arise
for that.
in thousands of years in the future. And that's more philosophically interesting, but easy for them to just deny. Like, no, he wouldn't. You know.
During the Biden administration, during his expressing his concern about inflation when Biden was president. In June of 2023, he went before Congress and discussed the Fed's dedication to the mandates of remaining focused on promoting maximum employment and stable prices for the American people, acknowledging the hardship caused by inflation. And he emphasized the Fed's strong commitment to bringing it back down to a 2% goal.
What?
In August of 2023 at the Jackson...
Adrian's telling me that he was friends with that comedian Gallagher.
He noted that while
The guy that would like do these shows where he would just smash like watermelons with an enormous hammer.
Right.
Alleged
I don't know if I believe him.
Could be. Gallagher was like big, but also disgraced by other comedians.
Apparently Gallagher's brother went on tour also as Gallagher, and there was a lawsuit about it, so he had to go by Gallagher too.
Right. And both of them have the last name Gallagher. That's classic kids.
Fantastic.
Favorable inflation data before considering easing monetary policy. As far back as June 20.
Wait, I'm gonna Google that because that story's too funny. It raises my suspicions, you know.
Inflation, he acknowledged that it was not as the Biden administration implied, simply because
Yeah, we gotta find a way to
war in Ukraine,
rein Andrew in.
suggesting that other factors were contributing
You know?
to rising prices, and yet
Get him back into the God talk.
a absolute lie about Mr. Powell is being promulgated by surrogates of the
Yeah,
president.
the Gallagher 2 situation is real.
Jerome Powell, and he's right to
There's
want
Leo Gallagher and there's Ron Gallagher.
And maybe he's right that he has the authority.
Adrian, I bet you only knew Ron Gallagher. I bet you're fucking. You didn't know the real deal.
I would think not, but what do I know? I'm not an expert. But even if he's right about that, why lie? Why feed the American people a diet of lies in order to get your point across? If in fact you have good reason to want to remove Jerome Powell, then state the good reasons. Don't make things up, because if you have a good reason to get rid of the guy, you don't have to make up stories that aren't true. And this really irritates me when people in the political and the public realm pontificate in such a manner. He's a public figure, so he's not going to sue anybody for slander or for libel. You can say almost anything you want about a public figure. Not anything, but almost. And if it's in good faith and it's inaccurate, it doesn't really matter.
He was a top G.
In public discourse, the First Amendment and all of that. But it really struck me when I started hearing these arguments. Tell me why you think Powell should go. Don't lie about what he did or didn't do. Okay, we will move on from that.
Is this really sweet Muslim kid on this app?
David, I guess. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Thank you, Uncle. We'll go to Ben next. Ben.
Yes, unfortunately, we had two events. We had two outlets, two comedy media of the state. Now we were losing some of them, so I thought the stars were all aligned. It must be that time of the month. Good room, as usual. By the way, Gary, you were saying that you were surprised and a bit of upset that Trump might have been lying about getting rid of Powell. I mean, Gary, were you born yesterday? Are you so surprised that politicians lie?
I'm not surprised, but I'm underscoring how pervasive it is.
Yeah, so I met Gallagher at a trade show in Vegas, and I told him that I grew up watching him on Comedy Central smashing watermelons and jumping on his big couch. And so he invited me to go to dinner at Rana Japan, and then we had a great dinner. And he told the whole dinner, he kept telling me about this television show or cartoon he wanted to produce about chemistry superheroes like oxygen and nitrogen, and make it into like some kind of kids science program. So I was living in LA and he was living in LA. He has a son who plays sitar, and Gallagher is a big pot smoker. So him and I hung out in Vegas, we hung out in LA, and then I moved back to Chicago, and he would come and do casinos or whatever. He'd come to Chicago and we'd hang out in Chicago. One time he pulls up to my condo building. I go down into the parking garage. The car was filled with vegetable material as if he smashed vegetables inside the car, and it smelled so bad and he was so disgusting. I said, listen, man, you cannot come up to my apartment like this. You're going to have to go check into your hotel and I can meet you out for dinner or something. So anyways, I have a bunch of photos and videos of him. But when I lived in LA, I got interviewed by like a professional production company about basically they interviewed me about him. And I don't know if I'm in that film or not, but yeah, he was like, I don't know. I got all kinds of things about him that I know about him, but yeah, the whole thing with his brother is interesting. And I never really even bothered asking him about that stuff. He kind of had like an anger management issue, I gotta say. And like, I have a lot of recordings of him on the phone, talking to him on the phone. But yeah, he would not go on the circuit. Like I kept telling him to go on Joe Rogan. The guy just didn't really care. But yeah, he was very funny. Actually, if you look at his Facebook, that's probably the coolest thing, because he wrote so much poetry. He just loved words, and he put out a lot of content on his Facebook of all his poetry and rhymes. He was really good at rhyming. That was his big reel. He was an interesting guy. But his Gallagher video collection and him and I texted for years. And anyways, his video collection, which is a bundled thing, it's like a big thing, and he sold out stadiums smashing watermelons, and he made a lot of money on merchandise, on t-shirts and albums and all kinds of shit. But he ran into financial problems later in his life. His ex-wife still lived in his house. But you know, he's just a dad, and he was a comedian and a communication person, but he was a chemist, I think was his undergrad, and he was a comedian, you know, famous comedian.
Alright, I'm trying to find Gallagher's Facebook page. Is it Leo Gallagher?
Yeah, pretty sure it's Leo Gallagher, yeah. Yeah, he
I need
always.
to hear Venus when he's in a motivated state to debate. They're absolutely the best fucking debates of all time.
Whose?
Venus, Mr. V up here.
I always really liked the Christopher Hitchens debates. I always thought those were good. Who was doing the Ron Jeremy debates? Do you remember there was like some theist versus Ron Jeremy, or what are like the most famous theist atheist debates?
Ron Jeremy debated stuff.
Yeah, he was touring the country. Oh, maybe it was about porn. It was some anti-pornographer, I think. Him and Ron Jeremy would travel and do anti-porn debates.
Feels like a thing Larry Flint would do.
Yeah. I met Ron Jeremy twice, and I encouraged him to do like a penis pill direct response advertisement, and he actually went ahead and did it. But he didn't like start the company. He just partnered with some, direct to consumer advertising company. But good Shabbos. Sasha is annoying in my opinion, and Andrew is annoying, and Clown House is going to fade away this summer. People are going to go to the beach and forget all about it because it's a mind virus, and it's a hypnosis product, and it's a dopamine creation medical device technology company for people to dope up and become dopier in rooms. And every time I read a book, I'm always reminded, oy vey, why am I here listening to all this stupidity?
Because the cost is too high. So you ended up in a situation where it's a lose proposition. Yes, the suppliers, the manufacturer overseas, they suffer, and the American consumers are going to suffer as well. And thirdly,
I'm on Gallagher's Facebook page and I'm not seeing a lot of poetry, bro. You are a fucking lying bitch.
Everything I told you is the truth, straight from my memory.
Lying bitch.
Yeah, I have videos of Gallagher in Vegas partying at nightclubs, falling asleep in his soup at a restaurant in Vegas. He was funny, but he suffered a heart attack, and his health declined after that. But he had a lot of piss and vinegar when I met him in Vegas. He was at a trade show, and he had a nice chunk of change in his brokerage account. We went to the hotel, and he literally logged into his brokerage account. I looked at his portfolio, and I was surprised how much money he had, but I couldn't believe some of the fucking companies he had in his portfolio with a lot of money. And he's like, these companies are advertising here at the trade show. It was the Direct Consumer Marketing Association, I think, or no, what's that big one? The electronic one. Anyways, Gallagher is dead, and I don't know if his brother is still alive. Yeah, he died. He passed away a couple of years ago.
Aww.
We could call his phone right now and see if anybody answers it. I have his number in my phone. Let's see if anybody picks up. No, I don't have it anymore.
Let's see.
I think he also claimed that he produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think I remember him telling me that. Or maybe that's Danny DeVito. But Andrew, why don't you go create a room?
Is that your Sasha impression?
Yeah.
Sounded more Irish.
What country is he from?
Poland.
He's Polish?
Sasha's Polish.
I don't think so.
Yes, she is.
Really? You sure he's Polish?
Yes.
That's interesting. He's the
I
only.
don't know anyone here has actually ticked birth certificate, but that seems to be the consistent narrative.
If that's true, he's the only Polish, person on this app I've ever heard with an accent ever.
It would
To
have
me,
to be a real.
Boris has an accent. It's just not that bad.
Boris isn't Polish.
Yes, he is. He was born in Poland. What are you talking about?
Oh, maybe I'm
He
thinking
lived
of
there until he was
the
like
lizard.
a young kid, and then they immigrated to Canada.
But is he really liberal? He doesn't strike me as being liberal, right?
No, this is just a joke.
Yeah, it's a troll title. Okay. Are you trying to lure him in here?
She has been here already for some hours and then left.
I'm not a.
Oh, I see.
Alright, here's a poem I found by Gallagher. Aren't I just the prettiest thing? In the insect world, I'm like a living bling. You need all of your crayons to color my wings. Like snowflakes bring winter, I bring spring. Everyone smiles when they see me. Some even sing. I couldn't get more attention if I danced with the king. I bring such hues to wherever I cling. If I land on your finger, you have a beautiful butterfly ring. But when I fly, I must zigzag, wigwag, and swing, bobbing up and down like I was tied to a string, playing my spring opening because, who wants to eat me? A bird? They want to have me for lunch. That's what I've heard. From my friends at the hive who just barely survived and spread the word among us, the most delicious airborne insect world. When I'm around flowers, they're so jealous of me. They can't pluck their petals or get up a leaf. I take their rich nectar, just like the bees, and with a tank full of pollen so sweet, I search for a rainbow with which to complete. Who do you think the prettiest? Me? Who flutters by in the sunshine for everyone else to see? Or that dreary rainbow, which is just moisture that hangs in the air because a cloud sprung a fuzzy wuzzy leak? Why, it's me. I deserve a big trophy and a blue ribbon. I ate lots of greens, and other insects didn't. And the last thing on earth that ought to be hidden. When my mom tells me what to eat, I listen. I remember when I was young. This is actually a really long poem. It's good. I mean, it's good. Yeah. I remember when I was young, just hatched out of my egg. Mom called me her little wiggy worm. I had 44 legs. Back then, slugs and bugs were my friends. They liked me because I looked like them before I turned into all of this. The beautiful, civic, dutiful butterfly princess. Boy, was I fat back then. That was the first leg of my life. It was all right. I knew it would end. My parents dared to tell me the facts of life. I learned more from my friends. If a caterpillar eats like a bear before their long winter sleep, then spin themselves into a cocoon, like when you're in bed and you get under the sheets, except my silken blanket comes right out of me, because you see, a thing with such delicate wings, it's hard to create and still say nice, and that some flying insects just like me has to be born twice. Once as a caterpillar that just eats and eats its whole life. Then when time has a chance to flutter by, I wake up. My dreams come true. I became me again. An utterfly? A fat-free butterfly? If your people, in your people life, kids, what are you going to change into? Can the troublesome you that you've been be the real, true you? Or have you just been resting up for the good deeds you've destined to do? Wait, don't answer that. It's the cops. You're under arrest for what? I, butterfly, am innocent. But you, the caterpillar, are not. You and your multi-legged gangs ruined a crop. Like robbers, you gobbled all the leaves from bottom to top. That's what caterpillars do, I believe. Just chew and chew and chew nonstop. Don't try to reason with me. I'm a cop. We go by the letter of the law. What letter have I broken? You, why? No, you. You ate the farmer's plants, thus depriving his family of sustenance. Oh, no, you are. I am? Yes, you are. Rest, under rest. G, no, you. Okay, but I've changed. C, no, you. But that's not me. Look, your suspect has only 44 legs and is green and fat, but I have 6 legs and I'm ebony in color. I'm skinny enough to be airborne. I have your birth certificate, but I've been born again. Religion has nothing to do with it. But I can prove the suspect you're looking for died. I have the body. That body you're in? No, a different body, a different dead one. Then I'm arresting you for suspicion of murder. For killing myself? That's not murder, that's suicide. Then I'm holding you on suspicion of suicide. There's no penalty for suicide. I'm allowed to kill myself, and you admit it. Admit what? That you're also you. Yourself. You know where you keep going with this poem?
I mean, I find it amazing that somebody's reading Gallagher. You know, it's hilarious.
Yeah, his poems are like kind of lit, I'll be honest with you.
This is lending credence to Adrian's relationship with Gallagher.
Yeah.
We gotta see a photo of at least one.
Under the letter of the law, just how many entities am I allowed to be? That's a question for a lawyer. Then I want a lawyer. That's what all the guilty ones say. I don't know why I even read your rights. You just read them because you can't remember them. Hey, you don't have to show just cause to detain me. Oh, I have a reason. What is it? I'm detaining you just cause. I'm being framed. Why am I being framed? Because we got your picture. Okay, let's compare your suspect caterpillar with my most recent butterfly photo ID, my flying license, or my picture on my Facebook page, or my Twitter comments worldwide, and take notice of the high-profile insects who've Twitter replied. Here's one from the Beatles. We met on the yellow tangerine. The yellow tangerine, that's my ex-Nat. What a pollinator. And does he also eat a lot? Here's a tweet from Spider-Man Catch you later. What a punster. Here, I got a photobomb by some louse. Delete. This fly girl's really a leech. Repeat, delete. I just got swarmed. All these pests. I mean, like praying mantis. He says he's from Atlantis. Okay, now it's getting a little too much. But I think he's very creative. I think he's a sweet man. I now like Gallagher more.
Whoa, that isn't Michaela. Hope you're well, Michaela. How's it going?
Pulled over and
Timothy, did you know that Gallagher, the watermelon smasher, was also a delightful poet?
You just assuming I should know that because it like has economic person because
Oh,
he has something to do with watermelon.
I guess in your community, Gallagher would have been seen as like a scourge who was like destroying very valuable resources.
Exactly. Our like prize, like delicacy.
Whereas in my community, he was just seen as a silly comedian.
Billy Goose. Billy Goose.
He was definitely, a big pothead. I mean, if you look at any of his videos of him smashing watermelons, like he lived quite an interesting life, touring the country, partying, smashing watermelons, selling, swag. I mean, pretty interesting lifestyle.
How much money was in his brokerage account when you looked at it?
Just a little over $1 million.
It's pretty.
Wait, that's the same dickhead. That's the guy, the comedian guy.
Are you projecting dick onto me?
Look, that's the guy.
Oh yeah. But
It feels like one of these scenes in this movies, you know, like no one else is gonna believe me. And I'm like, that's the guy, I swear. That's him. You know, like now he's completely changed and retired and stuff. His appearance, like
got a mustache.
He's a completely different character. He's like been really cool with everyone in the room. I was like, yo, chill out. That's obviously not him. I'm like, no, guys, I swear, it's him. It's the guy.
Well, the room was kind of silent, so I needed a.
Nah, I don't give a shit.
An agent of
yo,
chaos.
stop being a fucking retard, whatever your name is. Comedian or whatever.
I'm just a mirror. I'm just a mirror.
Communication and hypnosis. You should have heard him talking.
That's the power of my hypnosis. You remembered what I had to say.
Hypnosis, man.
I do
sound like that.
I do think it's kind of funny to think of books as like little mind control spells. Like I don't literally think that, but like it's kind of like when I read a book, I would be trying to control your mind. Like yes, change your
Well,
mind.
not necessarily. You kind of want. It might be kind of book where it's like you're more interested in like how people are thinking about things than like what precisely they're thinking about.
How do you feel when you wake up in the morning, though? Because even if you spent the whole day reading a book, studying it, you know, reading it out loud, performing it, like I don't know if anybody here has ever done theater.
Sorry, hold on. I want to use this as a teachable moment. If you want to make a coherent point now, and you want to hear people respond to it, wouldn't it be fucking irritating if some random dickhead was just walking in the background and just saying the same shit over and over and over again? Like, wouldn't that be fucking annoying?
That'd be
Maybe
really
don't
annoying.
do that. Yeah, maybe like other people are in the same kind of vibe or whatever that you're in now when they're in rooms that you're disrupting, and maybe they don't want to hear this like fucking chirping bird constantly repeating the same things over and over again. I don't know. Maybe bear that in mind.
Is all communication hypnosis?
Fuck you, Adrian.
Yo, you can come up, bro.
I'm just asking a question. When you wake up in the morning, how do you feel? How do you generally feel? Like, do you remember what you even did yesterday, or is it like a hard reset?
Blocking him though all this time. Like both these accounts weren't blocked. How's he doing this? Does he just have like?
No, you left the room and then he joined, so I don't have them blocked.
No. This account I don't have this one blocked either. So he must just have like dozens of accounts.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I've got a lot of accounts.
He's a chameleon.
Are you chewing out the noise troll guy?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he wants to actually have a conversation. I've invited you back up, you freak. It seems like he wants to have a normal conversation now, which that's
No.
cool. But like, just generally, it's like fucking annoying. Like, why do you do this?
Andrew, can you please create a room? I think he's being
Ethan,
a
I don't know
noise
if you were here for this, but someone suggested that we could clone Muhammad because we have his body and have like 500 Muhammads running around. What do you think about this idea?
Yeah, I don't think we could.
You don't think we could?
I mean, when he says we, he's not talking about the Koreans.
I just think we have. I think we can. I think we have the capacity to clone humans right now, and we just don't do it because of the taboos around it.
It doesn't work.
Like fully like cloned pets that exist right now, right?
Haven't you seen the pet?
The championship, like horse, like polo, whatever, like horse teams, whatever. They literally just will clone their best horse over and over and just play with multiples of their like.
But like people also just like clone their dogs and stuff now.
It doesn't work though.
Yeah.
Have you seen the documentary? They think they're gonna get a replicant, and it's not a replicant. It's it doesn't even look like their dog, and they're pissed.
I'll put you in it.
Well, but as in, wait, but is that in terms of producing a like-for-like comparison?
It's not
Or
a
is that
rep.
just in
It's
terms
not a
of
like for like.
generally?
It doesn't even look like your dog.
Yeah, the point would just be that like there wouldn't be an issue with producing someone that had the same gene.
Yeah.
But there are other contributions to.
You're muffled, Ethan.
Where it wouldn't be an exact duplicate. It would be, and I mean, there would be like some trait similarity between you and your clone,
but it would be less similar to you than an identical twin would be, even an identical twin separated at birth. Because there's stuff like, and there's some interesting. I was listening to this talk recently, actually, where this came up, and the guy was bringing up that there's like a bunch of neonatal stuff that influences the corporate development pretty substantially. That basically accounts, but that goes beyond like the.
So the challenge at present is like making these like subtle kind of modifications or like editing the genes to basically be this like facsimile or something of the person they're trying to, whatever the bone subject or whatever. Is that?
No, the problem would be just that, like, a big part of why you are you is something that's like innate. It's not because of your environment, but it's not given by your genes. And basically, there is kind of a sensitivity to initial conditions with it. But like, for instance, like I'd have to look back into it because I literally just heard the talk and I don't know that much about it. But there was something about literally part of the mother's egg.
I just want to reiterate
makes
again.
a non-genetic contribution.
We talk about these tariffs
to the course of development.
But the tariffs will only work if China cannot find another buyer for their products. The last set of tariffs on China cost the American taxpayers $70 billion, and China simply sold their wares to somebody else. And I feel like that gets lost in the conversation. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Daryl. Howard.
Hey, Gary. Great discussion. And I'd like to make a contribution this way. So to answer your question, from my perspective, I don't know. It's still almost like too early and it's so complex and there's a lot of uncertainty going on. So whether or not it's going to create or eliminate U.S. jobs, I don't know. But I would like to quickly share an anecdote because it happened today to me. And again, this is just an anecdote. I'm a focus group of one. I just want to share a real life microcosm. I am not at all saying woe is me, but I just want to share with you, here's kind of a real life case study of what's happening. So as we talked the other day, Gary, and you asked me, about the company I'm involved with. We're in 32 states in retail, over 1,100 retail doors. I did have an opportunity, and I got invited because she was in town to meet face-to-face with a buyer of our category at a major retailer that everyone knows, at least in the United States and Canada. Major retailer. And this retailer did a pilot with us, bought some of our product back in January, and this was an opportunity to kind of get some feedback. And great conversation. Certainly I was very flattered she made the time and I received the invitation. Of course, took the opportunity to meet with her. Very, likable, knowledgeable, all that was good. But the main thing was when we started talking about going forward, she, interestingly enough, she knows all about, of course, what's going on economically. I may have shared with you, there's some components to our packaging. Our product is made in the U.S. Our ingredients are domestically sourced, but there's some packaging components like a mess-free pump that comes from overseas and certainly is going to be impacted by tariffs. But she basically told me in a very nice way that they know all that, they know brands are struggling, but they're looking at this as an opportunity to further negotiate, and they're basically having a bidding war. And I was told in a very nice way that, hey, if I want to continue and get another PO, she is going to be looking for at least some type of modest price concession. And I know that, part of it could be very good negotiating on her part, perhaps, but it's a very competitive marketplace. And now I'm faced with the decision, as thin as my margins have been already with this one particular retailer, do I find a creative way to now give a price concession, or do I walk away to protect the profitability of my business, knowing though that I could be impacting future volume that potentially could impact, what my forecast was in terms of hiring people for the future as we continue to grow. So again, it's not a woe is me, but I just wanted to share since it just happened. It does relate, but it was just kind of an interesting dynamic that I didn't really expect today. And I'll land the skylib there. Thanks, Gary.
It gives us pause to think how many other similar discussions are occurring across the country. Thank you, Howard. You, Como. Yui Como, if I'm saying it properly, or even if I'm not, you're up. Steve, you get the last word.
Was that me, Gary?
If you are Steve, it is you.
Oh, okay. Well, I hate to hear the trials Howard's having there. But, I guess we're facing a very tumultuous situation. And I don't know, in the middle of a storm, how you discern which way the waves are going to blow the boat. And I think that's where we're at right now. It's disconcerting. Everything, when there's a paradigm shift in anything, it produces anxiety. It produces uncertainty. And I think we're in the middle of it. So probably our anxiety and uncertainty is as high as it's going to be. Again, this is high stakes poker. But as a backup, I've started taking Mandarin. Maybe I can speak Chinese fluently if this fails, and I'll be ready for Chairman Mao to ascend over the horizon and welcome me in with his open arms into the Chinese way of life. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks to that little chuckle at the end of the week, folks. We're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time, so till 5 p.m. New York time on Monday for the next edition of the People Informed. Everybody be safe, be well, have a great weekend. Use the messenger chat in the interim, and peace out.
First play, they did the.
I don't know if they kicked me from the room or he ended the room, but anyways, I think that's the third time I've been in his room and I get skipped over. But the rooms take forever. He should just do like a timer. Everybody gets like 60 seconds. It's so stupid.
I got caught with 7 pounds and I got sentenced to 30 years with no prior conviction.
Was that the law? Was that the maximum? Then that, hey.
Other than that, there's life. Yes, ma'am.
There are consequences for wrongdoing. If that was the law and you were sentenced to that, that is your sentence. We have to stop coddling wrongdoing. Jail is not a country club. Prison is made for criminals. If you do wrong and this is the punishment, this is what you face. If you don't want to face that, then don't do the crime. We cannot keep thinking it's okay and feeling sorry for criminals. I get tired of seeing our young men go back and forth. When does it stop? When they had put on the books 3 strikes you out, I don't know what state that was. I thought that was wonderful because you would think it would deter a fool, and I say fool, for wanting to keep going back knowing if you do 3 strikes, your ass ain't getting out of jail. So there has to be punishment for wrongdoing. We can't keep coddling wrongdoing. That's just the bottom line. I don't have a grievance with white people, but I do know that we are not fair in this country. And unfortunately, sometimes black people feel the brunts of that. That's my view.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ms. Summer. I appreciate it. Nikki, did you want to respond? And then we got Sasha.
Well, yeah, I don't think that's exactly what I was speaking about. I don't think that we're talking about people who have committed certain crimes in the laws. I think my point though was addressing the system of the laws, and that there are certain laws that are in place now where you can get arrested for no probable cause. You can get arrested and put in jail, and so there are some situations we have been going through in the United States where people are being incarcerated for no probable cause. And so I do agree with her that we should not coddle wrongdoing. No one's saying to support anyone doing anything unjust or whatever, but we're saying that we're at a stage now where we're facing people who are being incarcerated, kidnapped by the police, all sorts of things are going on, and there wasn't a crime in the first place. So it's a racism, the grievance is not with necessarily white people. To me, it's the grievance is with the system and how it's set up. And no, we're not coddling anyone. No one's being coddled, white, blacks, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you know the law of your state, and I'm not talking about police kidnapping people, you're talking about something totally different. That is not what we're talking about. I was talking about the responsibility of the crime that you committed. This man is sitting here telling me he was moving 7 pounds of marijuana. And the law said that he should go to jail for 30 years. We all know you can't move 7 pounds of marijuana, and if you get caught, you're not going to serve consequences for that. This is all I'm saying. Now, as far as being unfair, yeah, that's a whole nother subject. And how do we deal with that?
And they happen to adopt this Islamic ideology.
I don't have the answer.
Which you can see in
May I say something, please? I'm not going to be very. Oh.
That's what I'm here for. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Give examples of what I do to avoid. Young brothers. I agree with everybody that's been on this stage. 100%.
I don't think that you're going to agree with what I'm about to say next. And I'm not going to be here long just because I'm on my lunch break and I just had to run into the bank. So I'll keep it very short. Part of the reason why
he's on his lunch break and had to run into the bank.
Discussion of
criminality
has been dragged to the floor is because of the fact that, many black men feel the way that you do, but for some reason, there is a black maternal influence that seems to give excuses, engage in escapism,